Oh yes, Scooby Doo, Where Are You? One of the most famous and well-known American animated series. It was originally made in 1969. When Cartoon Network was formed in the 90s, it bought the right to Hanna-Barbera, which included Scooby Doo. So in my childhood, I watched reruns on Cartoon Network. Though it was never really out of syndication, so anyone could have seen it growing up. Scooby Doo is one of the most successful animated franchises ever. Probably not as big as Pokemon, but it's still very impressive. The original show spawned a ton of spin offs, a ton of animated movies, and it seemed in the early 2000s it was time to make a live action movie, because the series was probably getting harder to milk. Hey, it's Scooby Doo, one of the most beloved icons of many children's childhoods. And this is a multi-million-dollar Hollywood production. Let's see what they got on it. The director goes by the name Raja Gosnell. Let's see what else they did. Home Alone 3, Big Mama's House, Beverly Hills Chihuahua, The Smurfs. Alright, maybe if we have good stars, this movie can still be enjoyable. Okay, all spooniness aside, Matthew Lillard is not bad as Shaggy. He's actually one of the best parts of this movie. He looks the part, acts the part, sounds the part. I'm gonna be forgiving on that. So, the movie opens with Mystery Inc. doing their usual chase scene from the series. Except this time it's in live action, so it's not quite the same. It looks off in live action, where it's hard to take it seriously when it's not drawn in a silly looking, though normally dim lit world. A lot happens in the first 8 minutes of the film. Mystery Inc. captures a ghost who, of course, is not really a ghost in their usual, we plan to capture the bad guy, but Shaggy and Scooby mess up, but we end up catching him anyway, routine that we're all used to, in what I admit is a pretty good opening chase. We get a reveal that doesn't mean anything because we never knew about the mystery, and its reasoning is awful.
Oh man, Smithers! The creepy janitor?
Smithers wanted revenge after you refused to go out with him.
How could you, Pamela? I am a lover boy of George Clooney in proportions.
This is the first sign of trouble that tells us exactly what type of movie we're going to have. This movie is going to be 86 minutes of modern pop culture references and lame jokes. In other words, a normal family movie. Who thought this was a good idea? Scooby Doo was no Courage the Cowardly Dog in tone, but this was still semi-serious at times. This movie is a goddamn circus. Anyway, Velma gets mad at Fred for taking credit for her ideas, because Fred's known for that, right? So Shaggy makes a comparison of his friends to one of his pastrami banana splits. Then in a really horrific piece of dialogue, they break up.
You know what, Shaggy? You really put it in perspective for me.
Thanks.
I quit.
No.
No way! You can't quit. I was gonna quit in like 2 seconds. And now everyone is gonna totally think that I copied off the smart girl.
Now, wait a minute. Maybe I quit. I do? Yeah, I quit.
Now, I'm not much of a screenwriter, but how about something like this? I'm sorry, Shaggy, but I've had enough. Goodbye. But, I think it's time. I quit too. That's not good, but it's a start. Not that awkwardly disgraceful end to Mystery Inc. that we saw. So, Shaggy with CGI Scooby takes off in the Mystery Machine, which actually looks pretty good. 2 years pass, but it doesn't really matter because the gang is reunited after a grand total of 3 minutes apart. Yeah, it's a long time, isn't it? And, of course, they're called together to solve a mystery at some place called Spooky Island. Fred and Velma talk about their current jobs, Fred being a celebrity and Velma working at NASA. Of course, this isn't shown, not like film is a visual medium or something. Also, CGI Scooby and drag. Oh god, why? Why? So they get on the plane and we're introduced to Shaggy's love interest, Mary Jane.
I'm Mary Jane.
Like that is my favorite name.
Really?
Yeah.
Zany antics occur when it turns out she's allergic to Scooby, who is still in drag. Oh, and this is where it gets funny. Scooby sits by a cat and begins chasing it, even decking Freddy in the face. Man, this is really the level of humor we're gonna get, huh? So they get on the island and... No. Rowan, why did you agree to this? I expected this from Lillard, but not from you. So, Mr. Bean tells us the main conflict. The students at this amusement park are being hit by some spell that makes it so anyone they grab will be attached to wires. So the gang fool around on the island a little bit. Daphne meets a voodoo guy, and CGI Scooby gets chased by a CGI monster. And I guess I'll mention the CGI in this movie. It looks terrible. It looks so off in this live action movie that I can't buy into it because my brain tells me that Scooby and the monsters are not really there. And no, CGI is not always bad. A good example of CGI would be the T-1000 from Terminator 2. I was scared of that thing because I thought that would actually kill John Connor and friends. But here it just looks terrible. Daphne takes Shaggy and Scooby to a castle, then makes them go in when she does the Scooby Snacks trick. Yeah, we're all used to that. The crew meet up so they can do their classic split up and look for clues thing. The castle's design is pretty cool with that carnival gothic feel to it.
I know you. All you care about are swimsuit models.
No! Look, I'm a man of substance. Dorky chicks like you turn me on too.
Oh, Ryder. Why? This is Scooby Doo! A little person turns on the ride because little people are funny. Peril scene. Freddy turns off the ride by accident, then they turn on a cult video.
Welcome to America. I am using the language English.
No, I was under the impression that you were speaking Swahili or something. They mess around some more, then burp and fart jokes.
Wait!
Kids' movies these days. They escape, confront Mr. Bean, and like an idiot tell him he's a suspect. Anyway, flashback to Scrappy. He's annoying as expected. Except now, there's pissing. Can't have dogs in a kids' movie without pissing, right? Scrappy is uncharacteristically megalomaniacal. So, Mr. Ink kicks him off. Now, Velma's not mentioning this just for it to appear later, right? Well, here's the thing. Oh, never mind, we're being attacked by more monsters. The CG monsters capture Mr. Bean, Velma, and Freddy, while Scooby and Shaggy run away in their usual fashion. So it's up to Daphne, Shaggy, and Scooby to save their friends. Also, that chick from earlier comes back. I thought we were done with her. She calls for help in a short little take, in which I can only describe this as bizarre.
Our friend's a big kid now.
Not sure which mood that scene was going for. So the next day, no one has come. So much for calling for help, huh? Shaggy and Scooby go find Freddy acting like how you would expect a college kid on spring break to act. Then it turns out they're all infected. Chase scene with possessed students occurs. This scene is much better than the one with the monsters because the students were there, actually looking very threatening. The CGI monsters just looked faked and silly. If they made a movie about a mental plague that infected people's minds, this would have been much better than their current notion of monsters living inside of the kids. Scooby starts fighting with Shaggy when he finds out Mary Jane is infected, and he conveniently falls down a trapdoor to a secret passage. Shaggy goes down too, and finds a pool of souls that appears, and starts freeing his friends. They find out the monsters explode in sunlight, and need to live inside humans to survive in the day. Daphne and Freddy's bodies are switched, and Shaggy brought over this device that switches bodies, so they start talking in other people's bodies. This movie sucks so hard. The voodoo guy from earlier is apparently aware of everything, this evil plan and all, and he has all the answers, such as the antagonist needing Scooby's soul, something about it being pure. And Mr. Bean is behind it all, appears. And he asks Scooby to be a sacrifice. And Scooby is cool with it because he is. Okay, they set up a plan to free the souls and to use a disco ball to fry all the monsters once they're all free. But it goes wrong immediately in setup. So Fred and Velma get captured again. Shaggy and Scooby make up. But Scooby gets his soul dumped into the soul vat before they can run. Mr. Bean looks ashamed to be in this movie. But he hams it up so the audience can at least enjoy what's left.
And now, to complete the transformation, I shall absorb the pure one.
Shaggy knocks over Mr. Bean, Scooby gets back into his body, then they find out that Mr. Bean was just a robot. And the one behind it all is... Scrappy Doo. Wait, what? Have you lost your mind? Tell me when you think we crossed the line. This is probably the most infamous part of the movie. First they break Scrappy's character, and then they make him the bad guy. I mean, I understand that they would want to pick someone that everyone hates so that we can hate him like the bad guy. But the bad guy also needs to have proper motivation. and Scrappy having his character warped just doesn't seem right. Though it's not nearly as bad as a lot of the issues that I have with this movie, it's still out of nowhere, and it kind of hurts with how sudden it is. Movie's almost over. In the climax, Scrappy undergoes his high transformation from the souls he has absorbed. They have a confined chase. Daphne beats up a wrestler. The pool spills. The monsters are destroyed. Scrappy loses his powers. Fred kisses Daphne. They weren't building up to it. I guess they were just horny. And Velma has a near romantic moment with a background character, who I just called the Led Zeppelin guy, because he was always wearing that shirt. The police finally arrive. I guess that makes that previous scene with the Coast Guard smiling at each other evilly kind of pointless, huh? Mystery Inc. is officially reunited. Roll credits. Movie's over! Yay! Wait, no. One more scene of Scooby eating hot peppers. Okay, now roll credits. This movie is bad. It does little justice to the Scooby Doo cartoons, relying too much on stuff that only little kids would like. Daphne and Freddy are given annoying personalities, which for me is worse than the blank ones they had before. The movie suffers from having a bunch of pointless side characters and plotlines that go nowhere, most notably Mary Jane, whose character goes nowhere, the voodoo character, who goes nowhere. The nameless dude following Velma around was just an excuse for her to spit out exposition. And of course, the CGI looks terrible. The humor relies too much on stuff like pop culture references, or some cheesy lines spoken by Scooby, or some weird sexual lines spoken by Freddy, or sometimes it has kid-only humor, such as pissing and farting. I don't get where this movie's trying to go. This movie does have some enjoyable parts though. I enjoy the sets they built, they look very nice. Matthew Lillard gets his role as right as he possibly can. Scooby is pretty good too, despite his horrific appearance, and the actress who plays Velma does a good job too. And yes, Rowan Atkinson makes the movie much more enjoyable to watch, but there's no way any of them could have saved a script like this. Instead of honoring Scooby Doo, they made this movie into a below-average kids film. Whenever Hollywood touches something nostalgic, it dies, huh? Well, I'm glad a lot of the media that I grew up with hasn't been made into terrible Hollywood movies yet. What? Wait. No!